thanks for coming out to a tennis center on a Sunday morning, everybody. You guys are amazing. You are pioneers because you're doing something new, which is perfect because Midland is the city of pioneers. So my name is John, and I'm with Life Church. And I'm just going to kind of tell you a little bit about the church and then what our plans are here in Midland and how you could be a part of it. And then at the end of this, you may be like gung-ho and say, I'm on board. Or you may be like, this was too weird and outside of my comfort zone, and that's okay too. We want you wherever you feel that God is leading you. But I think God led you here for a reason. So Life Church, let me back up even further. How many of you grew up going to church? Oh, okay, wow. That's great. My dad was a pastor. And so pastors' kids either swing towards like they're a saint or they swing towards they're a rebel. I swung towards the rebel side because I didn't like going to church all the time. You know, every time the doors were open, I was there. Sunday school, we were there. Vacation Bible school, we were there. And it was a very traditional, very uptight, kind of church. And my dad's the pastor, so I had to be there. So in high school, I kind of would try to sleep in on Sundays or feel like I was sick, Like, Dad, my stomach hurts. I can't go to church. My dad started to catch on. So one morning he pulls out a paper bag and he goes, prove it. And then one time I really was sick, and so I yacked into the bag and my dad goes, oh, you feel better now. Let's go to church. So he couldn't get out of going to church. So as soon as I graduated high school, I kind of graduated from my faith. And I filled up my gas, went to college in Chicago. You guys, anybody been to Chicago? Yes, I love Chicago. I went there on a film scholarship and studied theater and studied comedy. And I wanted to be around comedians, so I was working at this comedy theater called the Second City in Chicago. It's where all the people on Saturday Night Live, that's where they learn to be funny. Stephen Colbert, Steve Carell from The Office, all those people. And so I was making pizzas and washing dishes and sweeping floors. I would do anything I could just to be around the comedians. And so I'm going to not tell you the whole long story, but through a series of events that if you buy me coffee later, I'll tell you the whole story. But through a series of events, I ended up being like a bodyguard for VIP comedians that would come in. And by bodyguard, I mean I would open the door for them. Yeah, because there's not much muscle on this, guys. I was kind of I would take care of them. I was their private assistant. Yes, yeah. I had hair back then. It was amazing.
You were their gopher.
I was the gopher. But bodyguard sounds so much more important. So I ended up being a bodyguard, or the gopher, whatever, for a comedian named Chris Farley. I don't know if you remember him from Saturday Night Live or from the movie Tommy Boy, but he was this big guy and funny. And so we had this Christmas party in the fall of '97 where it was just for the comedians and for the workers at the theater. And Farley came, and so I was getting him stuff. And basically, a long story short is I brought my camera that night and I took some pictures with him. And this was before digital cameras. We didn't have, back in my day, you would take a picture and then you would take it down to Walgreens and get it developed, and it would take 3 days. And so on a Monday night, we took a picture. I actually have a copy of it here. I wasn't planning on pulling it out, but why not? For kicks and giggles. This is my book. It's called Holy Shift. Don't forget the F. Angela, you would like this. I should give this to you to read. So I'll just pass this. You can pass this around. This is a picture I took on a Monday night in December of '97. In the front row of this picture, you'll see me with hair and probably 30 pounds lighter. And then in the back row, you'll see a disheveled, sweaty Chris Farley.
Looks like Arnell.
What? I did look like Arnell.
It's Arnell.
No, you and I looked the same back in the day. We're both Asians, so we've got that going for us. And so I took that picture on a Monday, and 2 days later, Chris Farley died of an overdose. So 2 days after that photo was taken, his body was discovered in the John Hancock building. So being a 20-something college-age kid who was wanting to be a rich, famous comedian, and then seeing how that didn't do anything for this comedian, right? Flushed his life away. I kind of went on this whole journey of, okay, what happens when you die? Where do you go? What is true? What is not true? This is before Google. This is in 97, so I had to go to the library, and I started reading all the books of the faith. I read the book of Quran, I read the book of Mormon, I read everything you can read. And what tripped me up was the historical, archaeological veracity of 1 Corinthians 15. 1 Corinthians 15 is a book in the Bible written by a guy named Paul 2,000 years ago. And he was the first guy in 1 Corinthians 15 to write down the story of Jesus. And all historians say, yeah, this is the earliest written account. And basically what he says is, if Jesus is dead and in the grave, then this whole Christianity thing is a joke. But if Jesus rose from the dead by his own power, then he really is the Son of God, and everything else starts to snowball into truth. So 1 Corinthians 15 grabbed me and grabbed my imagination, and I realized, oh, wow, this is real. This is a historical event that Jesus rose from the grave, right? Everything rises or falls on the resurrection. So I'm like, well, I want to tell all my friends about this. This is amazing. And so I finished up my degree in theater, married my high school sweetheart. We both went to Ohio. Don't judge us. Not to Ohio State. But we went to seminary in Ohio to pursue our master's. We ended up adopting, because there's this verse in the Bible, in the book of James, that says real and true religion is people who take care of orphans. And we took that literally. So we were just young and dumb. We're like, I guess we're supposed to adopt all the kids. So we adopted 5 different times, right? Your 6th kid is free. They punch your card, right? And so I've got this amazing family. None of us look like each other. We're all different races and colors and things. So we have this joke that if we go to Target and we see a little lost kid, we'll be like, oh, are you lost? Do you want to join my family? Kind of creepy. But I'm so into learning about faith and stuff that a week from you can be praying for me. A week from tomorrow, I have my oral defense for my doctorate. A week from tomorrow, so that's a make or break day. Either that's going to be a yay day or a oh man, what a bummer. Okay, yeah. So all that to say is my heart is I just love to connect with people who don't like going to church, which is a lot of us. If you look at the statistics right now, the latest studies show that like 67% of Americans will say they're open to spiritual things, but they're not interested in the church people. And I get it, because I grew up in that environment, and sometimes you feel judged, or you feel like there's a bunch of hypocrites, or you feel, like you just don't fit in. So a couple years ago, my wife and I started Life Church from scratch. This is a labor of love. This is not connected to any big, organization or any denomination. This is like my wife and I in our living room having this dream of let's create a space where people who are far from God can learn about the love of God, in a way that engages you with a live band and the best hour in your kid's week and free donuts and, all that stuff. So we started it with just a couple friends a couple years ago. We ended up buying a former golf center on the edge of Saginaw Township and Freeland. So that's where our home base is. So after this, I'll jump in my car and go and preach at like a full-blown worship service in Saginaw. And before the pandemic, we just kept adding services because more and more people would show up. People who like to sleep in on Sunday and they like to come to the 11:15, and they bring their kids. And then we started to see relationships get healed, and we started to see teenagers get excited about their faith for once, and it just kept growing. So then we started renting space in Midland because there were people coming from Midland. And we were at Northwood University for a while. They had this beautiful theater. Oh, it's so nice. So we'd go there, set up, tear down, do worship every week. Then we moved to the mall, which sounds weird to have church in the mall, but it worked because we had all our stuff set up and we didn't have to tear it down. It was so nice. And we even opened up space in Bay City because we were reaching people in Bay City. So everything was going until COVID. And how many of us, your life was disrupted by COVID? Yeah, everybody, right? Everything just kind of hit the wall. We had to shut everything down because in Michigan, you had to shut everything down. And so basically where we're at now is Saginaw's reopened. It's rocking and rolling. Now we're trying to reopen Midland. And this is my friend Arnell. Arnell works here at the tennis center. So he talked to his boss and lets us meet here to kind of plan things out on Sundays for free. And we like free. So that's kind of bringing you up to speed of what is going on. Is we want to launch weekly worship gatherings for the greater Midland, Sanford area. And I need your help because I can't do it alone. And so I've got Arnell signed in. He signed over his birthright, so he's locked in now. No, kidding. And some of you here have been coming for a couple weeks, couple months. Some of you are here for the very first time today. Thanks for giving us a shot. I'm just here to today kind of say, here's the plan. Here's what we're planning to do, and here's how you can be involved. And then it's up to you. The ball's in your court. If you want to jump into something that's new and fresh and full of energy, or if this isn't for you, and that's okay if it's not for you. I totally get it. So before I dive into plans, questions. 'Cause I've just covered, I guess I just kind of told my life story, kind of. Do you have any questions about me or about maybe the church or the beliefs or anything? Yes?
Are you going to be in this area and get a church or another building? What are you going to do? Because I would like to, find a church. So, I'm interested. So.
Absolutely. So, here's the plan. The question for anybody watching online. There's a guy who comes every week named Tyler, but this week he's in Iowa because we're all from Iowa somehow. So he asked me to film this. So Tyler, the question is, are we going to get like an actual church building, or how are we going to do this? The answer is, honestly, I don't know. The worst case scenario, which isn't really worst, but the worst case is that we'll launch here. And we would set up and tear down and bring in musicians and do kids ministry. So this is like the backup plan, the tennis center. And so we want to stay in their good graces. Thank you, tennis center. Thank you, Arnell. But here's what I'm trying to do. I've reached out to our friends at Northwood University. They have this beautiful theater that we met in years ago, and it's nice. Like it's got the stadium seating, it's got the stage lights. We've got video that we can use I use lots of video stuff when I'm teaching and things. So we've reached out to them. We don't have an answer from them. And I would not be surprised if they say no, just because sometimes it's hard to work with religious organizations when you're a secular organization, and I understand that and I respect that. But we've asked. If they say yes, bingo bango, we can launch in their theater, which we've done before, And like we have drawings of exactly how to set up kids stuff and music stuff all in there. So that's the first place we're asking. The second thing I'm doing is I'm always driving around looking for empty buildings, empty spaces, for places to meet, whether it's in a church building or like an empty Kmart or an empty whatever. And so I'm always open to, if you notice a place that has like a for rent sign, you could always shoot me an email and let me know and I'll investigate it. We don't have a ton of money, you know, unless somebody here wants to write a big check, and if you do, praise God. But it would be wonderful to be in a church building. That would be amazing. And I know for a fact that there are empty church buildings in Midland.
I know of one out.
So we'll talk afterwards. Yeah. So I'm totally open to that too. That for me, it's less about where and more about how do people feel when they're here. Because we humans are emotional beings. We don't make logical decisions. So when you go to buy a car, you go to rent an apartment, it's more about the emotions of how does this make me feel, right? Same thing on Sunday. For some of you, this is your first time here, and I give you major credit because that is hard to drive someplace that you don't know. There's like one little dinky sign out there, right? You're like, am I in the right place? Is this a cult? There's no Kool-Aid, don't worry. You know, and then you walk in and you don't know anybody. That's hard. So I give you major credit. Like, holy cow, I've been in your shoes and I get it. My hope is that together we create a Sunday experience where when people are driving up, there's someone out there waving, you know, with the vest saying, you're in the right place, you know, and there's someone at the front door who says, hey, how you doing? Here's a flyer. And then they walk up and I've already got the hookup for free donuts. I told the story earlier, I'll tell you guys later, but I discovered someone who manages the Tim Hortons that goes to our church. Yeah, we like free stuff. We want to create the best hour in a kid's week because if you win the kids, you win. There's a reason why Chuck E. Cheese is still in business. I mean, that place, you assume they had COVID like in 2015. You know, their pizza tastes like cardboard. But if kids are having fun, the parents go, right? The same idea should be, church should be so much fun. It really should be. We have the best message on the planet. We really do. And so we have a killer kids ministry in Saginaw. And if we get people who will give up one Sunday a month to serving kids, Sarah knows what I'm talking about. It's super easy. There's no teaching involved. The teaching is all video based. It's more about just making sure kids don't get killed. And we bring in like giant inflatable bounce houses and fun stuff. And then we have music that's engaging. Music is all about credibility with millennials and Gen Z. Okay? 3 out of 4 young adults and teenagers have their headphones in all the time, right? So when they come, we want to make sure the music is done with excellence. So we kind of have a high bar for that. And that it's engaging, that it's very modern. And we've linked up with a worship supply network that will send you worship leaders to lead worship. So that's what we're doing in Saginaw, and that's what we would probably do in Midland. You still have your own band, but you have a lead singer and a guitarist who come in and they lead worship. It's pretty cool. And then you're stuck with me for messages, which I enjoy. If you've heard of the Methodist Church, way back in the day, they were started by this guy named Wesley, and he would jump on a horse every Sunday and he would travel from town to town and preach. He was called a circuit rider. And so that's kind of what I'm not a Methodist, but that's kind of my approach is I live in Saginaw Township, but I'm happy to drive out here, set up church, speak, shake hands, hang out with everybody, tear down, and then I'll zoom over to Saginaw and jump on stage and preach. And that's how you reach people. And then eventually when you have some money, you can hire another pastor so that the pastors can rotate where they speak. Does that make sense? So I'm kind of telling you the plan. Let me tell you the when. That's really important. So there are certain times of the year where if you're going to start something new, people in the community are open to change. There's 3 times. The first is January, because that's, everybody's got resolutions. I'm going to go lose weight. No, you're not. There's also September, because that's when people go back to school and they're done going on vacation and they're getting back into their rhythms. Well, we already missed January, and September is too far away, because there are people now that we need to reach in Midland and in Sanford who are not darkening a church door for whatever reason. So the other big time to open the doors is right around Easter. Easter is the most attended Sunday in church world. Like, people that don't go to church will go to a church at Easter. So here's what we do. As we've been doing this in Saginaw every year, is we rent a helicopter. And then we throw 10,000 plastic eggs out of a helicopter, and we invite the community. It's a free party. Parents bring their kids. They have a blast. It's safe. It's fun. It creates buzz. And then we invite them back to church the next day. And it works. They come out. They realize that we're not weirdos that are trying to convert them and, proselytize. We're just here to have fun. And then they come to church and they hear the gospel. So we've always done it in Saginaw. Here's the other prayer request. When I reached out to Northwood University about their theater, I also asked them about their football field. Because they've got a big football field, and we could easily move our egg drop to Midland. They probably will say no.
Pray for that.
But a couple years ago, they almost said yes. It was, I think, 4 years ago we asked. And it got into that we were talking about it, and then they finally said, can we wait and do it in the future? So I'm kind of leaning into that, of saying, hey, it's the future. If we were able to do that, then that would be a huge way to point people to a new church. Is you have an event on Saturday, and then the next day is Sunday, and you point them to church and say, hey, did you have fun at this? You're going to love Life Church. What I'm looking at doing is starting before Easter to kind of ramp up. So the first Sunday of March, we're going to meet here again and hopefully have answers about where we're going to launch this thing from and figure out who's going to serve where and things like that. And God willing, I would love the second Sunday of March to start our weekly worship services. Seriously. That's about almost a month before Easter. Here's how you do this. We've done this before in the past, and it's been effective. People need to know you exist. So this jumbo postcard, we just sent this out to 5,000 homes in Saginaw in January. It's called Interruption Media. People will get this in the mail, and they will spend 5 seconds looking at it. And I'm trying to only get 1% of the people to come try my church once. And it works. There's not a giant cross on here. We're not anti-cross. We're about making people laugh, because it's about the emotional, oh, they get me. I don't want to go to church. It's boring. This tells you about the church, points you to the website. We have a killer website. It's got all the past messages and everything on there. I would like to send out 15,000 jumbo postcards in Midland and in Sanford the week before we launch. And I've got the funds for it. So I'm not asking anybody for money. I've already got it from a private donor in the church. Okay? And then we would either launch here or at Northwood, or maybe somebody finds us a church building or a place, and we would set up signs. So I got a ton. You saw like that little dinky sign. We've got tons of those A-frames. We've got giant flags that say Life Church. You can put signs everywhere. You can create a little stage area and then seating for everybody. We got the donuts. Arnell's got the coffee. We'll take a coffee break in just a minute, Arnell. And then it's just about inviting people. And you can invite, here's the easiest way to invite people to church. The easiest way. You don't have to actually say anything. You open up Facebook and you check in to Life Church Midland. You could even do that right now. Just check into Life Church Midland. And what it does is Facebook puts that in front of the eyeballs of people who know you. And we've discovered that's the best way to get Life Church's name out there. People will come because my friend Barney was there. I want to see what that was about. So we've got Facebook invites. We've got these giant postcards. We might do radio advertising. We've done that before in the past, and it's been effective, but it's very expensive. And we would advertise on WIOG, the top 40 station.
I was going to start betting my friends $20, and if they don't laugh, then they don't have to come back. Something like that.
That's right. So my background is in comedy, and I try to get people to loosen up. I try. It's not dry sermons that are going to put you to sleep. So yeah, that's good.
But at the same time, it's still very true to the Bible.
Yes.
Very true to the gospel.
Yes, I am a Bible person. I know I haven't opened my Bible yet, but if you come to Saginaw, I'm literally teaching verse by verse through the book of John. And then I put study notes online, about 15 pages every week, that go deeper into the text. So if you really want to learn about things, that's all on our website. Or if you're just new to the faith, you can come on Sunday, hear the message, and then it slowly grows on you. So, and then the last key that we have with launching is we always try to keep our gatherings under 60 minutes. Because the number one rule in comedy is you leave people wanting more. You don't want them checking their watches and getting bored. And churches are kind of known for going long, so we like to go short. And people really jive with that, the demographic we're trying to reach. So I've talked a lot. I want to see what questions you might have, and you can ask anything. I will not be offended. I want you to feel comfortable as you're trying to figure out, am I going to be part of this, or is this not for me?
I'm going to say a word about the serving. When you serve, it's not like it's going to be a huge time commitment. It doesn't take you out of your regular schedule. I've done kids ministry, and I was right there with the kids. I didn't have to do preparing before or a massive cleanup afterwards, just a little. When I do door service, you show up, you hold the door, you greet people, be friendly, tell them which way to go, and then you go in and enjoy the service. It's not like they're asking you to take huge chunks of your own personal time.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people, they hear serving and they go, send away another 5 hours of my week, and no, it's not like that at all. It's very much, you're still very much involved with everyone else, and it's very respectful of your own time.
Yeah, there's really no preparation involved. We train our workers, but we want to make it just super easy, just plug and play. You can learn more about serving, by the way, on our website. lifechurchmichigan.com is the website, and if you click on Get Involved, that tells you about all the different areas that we have to serve, and small groups and things like that in the church. So it's all online. Do you have a question? No? Somebody had their hand up, but I missed who it was. Oh, yes.
Do you have a ladies' ministry?
Every Sunday at 11:15, we have ladies who are being ministered to. No, we also have a small group that meets on Thursdays. Sarah, are you still?
Yep, we're watching The Chosen together.
Awesome.
So we're just starting season 3 in Saginaw. And after that, we're going to start and jump into the book of Daniel, which is a bit more in depth.
Oh, Daniel.
We're
Woo.
getting excited, yes. yes.
And there's
You
also.
have one too, don't you? You're in Midland.
Mhm.
On Wednesdays, yeah. Carmel comes to that one. On Wednesdays here in Midland.
Where at?
Shawanda, she's not here this morning.
Oh, she's right here.
She is. Oh, okay. It's at Shawanda's house.
It's going to go on pause for the month because
For
you're
a few weeks. I'm
for a
going
few
to
weeks.
Africa, yeah.
Mhm.
But then it'll return again. But I can get your name and number, and then we can be in touch, and I'll let you know.
Alright,
So it's
sounds
okay.
good.
Yeah.
Our flavor is a little bit more masculine. Our flavor is a little bit more towards 20-somethings, but we value being multi-generational. And that's important for you to know too, is we're not trying to just reach only the teenagers. There's wisdom in all ages, and we're all in God's family, you know? So we love diversity big time. That's huge. What other questions do you guys have? Because I don't have a lot much else to present other than donuts.
Have you tried Midland High as far as using the football field?
No. Do you know someone there I can talk to?
No, but I will see what I can find out for you. Okay.
You just stress that it's a safe event. We've done it for 10 years. And it's good for them because the media comes and they get free positive media coverage.
Yeah, Midland High does a lot.
That would be
I can
great.
talk to Dow High. I will find out because my grandson's go there.
Yeah, and we have all the volunteers and we know how to pull it off. We're pretty well adept at it now after 10 years. That would be wonderful.
And it is a really fun event to serve at too. I get
We give all the workers t-shirts and yeah, you might end up on the evening news. It's kind of fun. Yeah, you're like, no. Other questions?
There is a church down here. It's been empty for about 3 years. It's still empty. They had it up for sale. I don't know what they did because they took the sale site. It's called the Brotherhood Church down here on Swede and
I'm going to write this down. Brotherhood.
Is that, you mean at Brethren Church?
yeah.
Yeah, that's the one I was going to suggest to you, that
Yeah, 'cause it's
they're
public.
wanting to rent office space. The Brethren
Really?
Church, it's
Yeah.
on Saguenay in Swede, and they have 2 floors, and they're wanting to rent it out. They might even give it for free. I know the pastor there, and I know his.
Could you contact
Yeah,
him?
I'll contact him, and then they have a huge yard, huge.
Oh yeah, give him a call. Tell him I used to be Brethren a long time ago. Brethren do, when you baptize, they do triple dunk. It's a long story. It's biblical actually, but I became a reverend. I was ordained in the Brethren Church, of all things. I'm non-denominational, but that's my in with them, you could tell them. And our seminary that we went to was a Brethren seminary.
Well, there you go.
So you can tell them that too. Usually what I've discovered is I could cold call a place, but if you already know somebody, you're going to get further relationally knowing someone than I will. And
It's really cool with things coming up. I know at the Saginaw campus they're talking about putting in a garden. I mean, with all the land that is there, it's huge. And so they were talking about planting a garden there that, you know, like a community garden for everyone. It just sounds so incredible.
we have 40 acres of land
Yeah,
at our Saginaw location. You're welcome to come if you want. It's at 1115. It's not really in Saginaw. It's just outside of Freeland. We'll give you the tour. But
I'll be at the door.
yeah, you'll be at the door.
Door today.
But yeah, we do, in the summer, we do a kids camp that's free. We do a teen camp called Best Week Ever. We've done stuff with Dow Diamond the last 2 summers. We even did church at the Diamond. That was
Our band played there.
that was kind of a hot mess, but we did church at the we did do church there once. So we're the church that we'll step out in faith and take risks and just do whatever it takes to reach people that just don't, kind of giving up on church. The last thing I'll mention, and then I'll close this in prayer, and then then we're done in 45 minutes. Look at that. I'll stick around though for questions. The last thing I'll tell you is that, of course, as a nonprofit, we are a 501c3. So that means any donations made to Life Church, you get a tax write-off. Yay! And it's easy to give. It's as simple as on your phone. I'll write the website down here. It's lifechurchgive.com. Or you can give on our app. We have a free app that's really cool. It's on all the app stores. It's on Roku. It's on Apple TV. You can watch our live stream on the app. But lifechurchgive.com is where you can give. Or, I mean, we could pass a plate. I'm not going to do that today, but sometimes we pass a plate or whatever. But all that money goes into things like printing these and then postage and bringing in the worship artists. So it all goes right into ministry and into outreach. So those are some ways you can be connected. And then, like I said, if you have Facebook, checking into Life Church Midland on Facebook, that's a huge way to help us out. It gets our name out in front of more people. So, any last questions before I close this in prayer?
I just wanted to share something. I don't know if you remember me, but
You look very familiar to
I
me.
attended back when it was at Northwood, and it was an amazing experience for those that don't know anything about Life Church, which is why I'm here today. I had a really good experience, and just with the music, the worship, your sermon, everything. And then I moved away to Detroit, but before I moved, you baptized me at the little place on Eastman. Do you remember that?
I do. That's why I was looking at you. I'm like, I know her.
So you baptized me, and I signed the tub, and we had a little ceremony, and I spoke a little bit. But for those that don't know about Life Church, there is a lot to take away from the services, from the experiences. I haven't gotten a chance to serve or give, but I was back and forth between Detroit and here.
Are you still in Detroit?
No.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
back. I'm local.
Okay, great.
I did come to your Easter service in Saginaw.
Oh,
A friend
cool.
of mine was like, you gotta come back. I'm like, okay.
I'm so happy you
But
came back. That's
I've
awesome.
kind of seen the church move around and do its thing, and I know Saginaw's been a planted church for many years, but I see that Midland has potential.
Mm-hmm.
We can open up and just think outside the box. That could happen here too.
I appreciate your. That's very kind.
That little tidbit.
And we do want to be planted, and we don't want to be moving around. That's not the goal. Like Pinocchio, we want to be a real life church. So, well, let me pray for you, and then you're welcome to help yourself to coffee and donuts, and then I'll stick around if you want to ask me more private questions or whatever. And we've got more handouts and stickers up here if you'd like to take anything with you. And our next meeting will be the first Sunday of March, and then hopefully we'll be launching that the following Sunday. So like us on Facebook, and you'll get all the updates on Facebook. All right? We pray for you guys. Well, dear Lord, thank you first for this space to meet in. We pray that you would bless the tennis center and continue to make this a place where people can gather and meet and have fun together. I thank you for each person that made their way out here today. God, it's hard to know where you fit in sometimes, and so I pray that if you are drawing people to be part of this core group, that you would make that clear to them, and if you're maybe instead drawing them to another church home, that you would make that clear as well, Lord. We don't want to stand in the way of whatever you're doing in people's lives. And God, that's what this is all about. It's about people. Would you give us opportunities to love people where they're at, to serve people, to teach people about the way of Jesus? Would you give us a place, Lord, to meet for weekly worship, whether that's here or somewhere that you are preparing for us? And then, God, would you give us the faith to step out and step into that new place and into that new season together. God, thank you again for this time together, and we pray this in your Son's name. Amen.
As we come to a close, now is your opportunity to partner with what God is doing here at Life Church. Now, those of you who are here and are guests for the first time, please, please leave your wallet in your pocket. We are not after your money, but we would still love for you to go to connecttolifechurch.com and fill out that connection card. Those of you who are wanting to financially support what God is doing here, you can do so in many ways. You can do it on Venmo, you can do it at lifechurchgive.com, or for those of you who are on site, we have baskets that are available that you can drop your offering and your tithes as you walk out the door. We really appreciate you supporting what's going on here and allowing us to seize the moment just like Peter and continue to share Jesus with those that God puts in our path.